Good evening, everybody. It's 9:30 p.m. on the East Coast, 6:30 p.m. on the West Coast on a Monday. Must mean it's time for your weekly Calamity Jane livestream. James, how are you doing on this perfectly executed Monday intro?
Executable. That's
Executable.
pretty.
It was so
Yeah,
close until I fucked it up with just trying to. Anyway, it
yeah. But well, I mean, we got
was
a
close
little bit of
enough. It
pirate
was
talk in
close
there.
enough. Yeah.
We had a dramatic pause in there, which I kind of like. I was
No,
gonna
I
give
just
you,
yeah, exactly. You got to build
give
the
you cred for
tension a little
that.
bit, right? Right.
Yeah, that
It's
part was
like
good.
yeah, it's like jumping back to the one from the five on a 1-4-5 progression. You got to build the tension.
Yeah. But yeah, my Monday is just kind of chugging along.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
Monday, so no complaints really. How about you? How about on your side?
Doing okay. No complaints. I worked on a John Wick script and a Guardians of the Galaxy 3 script today for my job.
Hmm.
John Wick 4 comes out on Friday, so I'm looking forward to that. By all accounts, it's
Ah,
supposed to be great. So
huh.
alas, my job though, I know the whole movie because it's my job, and
Yeah.
so I know the whole thing already. But I'll launch into a rant. Let's see what you're going to work on from
Okay. All right.
an
Sure.
animation thing.
Okay, let's do that, and then we'll get underway here. All right, sharing my screen. So for today, I am going to work on a kind of more of a.
Oh, I lost your audio, James. Ladies and gentlemen,
No,
this is. Oh, there you go. Now I hear you.
no.
Yeah, I can hear you
Okay.
now. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
so what happened is I got to figure out this how to work this in a Mac because again my Mac Numius is showing when I get a FaceTime call, it rings on my Mac,
Mm-hmm.
and then all bets are off. I can't do anything else. I can't talk to you or anything else. I'm looking for like where is it? Like it's ringing. I'm looking for it in my OS, and I don't know if you can even see me clicking around
I
on
get. Yeah,
buttons up
yeah.
here.
Moving around. Yeah, I'm waiting for you to
So I'm like,
reveal some
where is it?
secrets.
Yeah, where was it? Like I don't know where it was, and I just wanted to hang up on it, and so
Mm-hmm.
I could just call him back. Yeah, I mean my sister. She was calling just to say hi, probably or something like
Uh,
that. But anyway, but yeah, so I was kind of stuck there. So sorry for the weird
oh
technical
no,
glitch
that's
there.
fine. I mean, we had a moment of silence for Lance Reddick, who unfortunately passed away last
Oh,
Friday.
yeah, that is sad. I did like Millennium quite a bit. That was a fun show.
Yeah.
To scratch the X Files itch after
Oh, you mean
X Files
Fringe?
kind of went its way.
Millennium
Was it
was
Fringe?
it's Fringe. Lance Reddick was a part of Fringe. Yeah, and that's where I
Oh,
so
never mind. I'm putting in the same genre. That's
yeah,
right.
they're very
Sorry.
sim. I mean, Millennium is by
Right.
Chris Carter, and it's more of on the horror side than the
Yeah.
supernatural side.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but no.
Wow.
Yeah, he was great in Fringe, and I never
Yep.
saw The Wire, but I've heard he's phenomenal in that as well. I
I don't
know him.
remember him in The Wire.
Yeah, I know him
Wow.
first and foremost from Fringe, and then obviously from Lost, and from the John Wick franchise.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, yeah, he's great. It was so sad to hear that he passed away. I don't um, usually care all that much when celebrities go. Right, they're just trained monkeys for my entertainment. But by all accounts, Lance Reddick was a really cool guy, and he chose really fun projects to be part of. Mostly that horrible Resident Evil reboot series on Netflix was appalling. But other than
Hmm.
that, he was pretty good at his career choices. So
Hmm.
it was sad to see him pass away. But that was not the topic. We'll get
Yeah,
to
that was
that.
on my dramatic pause, but yes, it
Yeah,
is worth mentioning. That is
yeah.
kind of sad. Back to Calamity Jane. I was gonna do a front view of Calamity talking, pretty much. That's all I was doing here, and I was gonna grab some assets here to kind of use as reference. A little bit more of a front view here for
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Calamity. So that's what happened there. That's where that dramatic silence came from for me. See, so now you and I are both even. We're
We're
both
there.
kind of glitching out a little bit here today. But with all that said, so I'll start sketching away a little bit and start
Okay.
trying to assemble Calamity front view with kind of trying to make a mouth pack for and stuff like that. And we'll see how far I get tonight. But let's go back to what you were talking about
Well,
here.
okay, I'm gonna say an unpopular opinion. All right, so just be prepared to be
You
angered.
unpopular?
Yeah, I know, right?
Unpopular?
When do I ever have something that goes against the mainstream point of view, right?
Okay, all
But I'm
right.
gonna do it for a change. I'm gonna say something that I know is unpopular.
Uh huh.
Um, but here it goes. I think people are too sensitive about spoilers. There, I said it. I
Oh,
think
I
people
see.
overreact about spoilers. I had to do it. I had to go there.
Yeah, well, I don't like spoilers. I am one of those people because I want to enjoy it in the moment of witnessing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I yeah, it's so hard because then what's the point of watching it? Like I already know what's gonna happen.
Well,
I
and
mean, like
this is to my point. And again, I mean, honestly, there's no right or wrong answer here. The
yeah,
stakes are so impossibly low for this, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
But for me, and I never really cared that much about spoilers.
Hmm.
I knew how The Usual Suspects ended before I saw that movie.
Yeah.
But I remember watching it going, A, this is just an amazing film, period.
Hmm.
It's just a
Sure,
joy to watch. And
sure.
B, like, I don't know how they get to this point. How do they do it, right?
Oh, so you're
Um,
wondering like the process of how it? Yeah,
right.
I get
And
it.
this actually kind of ties into our conversation about prequels, like Andor specifically. Like, that Andor dies. So
Uh-huh,
where are the
uh-huh.
stakes? And it's like, well, it's less about the stakes of the character and more about the journey of how he gets to, being this rebel
Yeah,
hero.
sure, sure.
And so to me, that's part of it as well. But since starting this job at Static Media, it's just reinforced that I just don't really care that much about spoilers.
Hmm.
I've, for basically every major tentpole movie for the last almost 2 years now, um, I've known everything about the movie before it comes out because it's a part of my job, right?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
still go see the movie and I still love it because working on these articles, you have a technical knowledge of what happens.
Hmm.
But when you watch the actual finished product in cinemas, it's so completely different, right?
Because
Uh,
you know what's gonna happen.
I know what's
Is
going
that
to
what you're
happen.
saying?
No, no, no. I mean it in that what I see in my head, based on what I've read or researched, is always different than what is actually winds up on screen. And so the movie that I've constructed in my head with the technical knowledge of what's going on in the film is fundamentally different than what the actual movie ends up being, right?
Hmm.
I mean, one of
Sure.
the classic examples for me was The Northman, um, Robert Eggers' latest flick with Alexander Skarsgård. I think that was
Hmm.
him, right? Um, and I knew everything about the movie. I knew all the beats. I knew that it was kind of an interpretation of the original Norse folklore that Hamlet was based off of. I knew about I basically knew the whole movie.
Hmm.
But the movie that I saw was so different than what I had constructed in my head that it was like watching something completely new again, right?
Sure. I mean, this is kind of the same. You can kind of go in the same vein of like reading the novel first and then seeing the movie, right? Kind of the same
Mm-hmm.
deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I totally get that.
And so for me, spoilers just don't bother me, right? So I always,
Hmm.
again, unpopular opinion, I know. So most people do care a lot. They don't want things spoiled for them, and I respect that. I do my best not to spoil things for people. I will
Sure.
admit I screw up from time to time just because I don't care about it. I have to like remind
Yeah.
myself, oh wait.
Yeah. 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 I get that. And so I think you're kind of leading into you want to talk about John Wick 4, but you don't
But
because
right, exactly,
yeah,
because I know,
I know where you're going.
yeah. But I will
Yeah.
say, based on what I know of the movie, um, and the critics' initial feedback, yeah, it looks like it's going to be great.
Really, I'm
Yeah,
so surprised because like, what else can they really do with this guy? Like, he's an assassin. He kills a bunch of,
I mean,
you
it's
know.
at the end of the day, it's John Wick, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
you're not tired of that shtick, then it's more John Wick. It's more of what you love. If you're tired of that shtick, it's not. There's not going to be a lot there for you, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I will never get tired of watching Keanu Reeves beat people up. That is just that's one of my pure joys in life is watching Keanu Reeves just be awesome because he's a great guy by all accounts. who is extremely down to earth, who takes care of the people around him, who is always game to try something new. I mean, is he like Daniel Day-Lewis? Is he like, even a Tommy Lee Jones? No, he's not. But he commits to what he's doing, and even if he's not the greatest actor in the world, he's still just, I want to support him in any capacity.
You also, just like him as a person and as a actor.
He's a phenomenal physical actor. Physical actor, right? And I think that's why he succeeds so well in things like The Matrix and John Wick. And so he's just fun to see move around. And every once in a while he'll do something really, really impressive. Like there's this, I don't know how familiar you are with the John Wick franchise.
I think I've seen whatever version. Okay, the first one.
Well, the first one is just about him getting revenge on the Russian mafia for the kid killing his dog.
Yes, and I got that one. I seen that one. Whatever one is the one with Boban in it, the basketball player, because I'm a basketball fan. So, that's the really tall guy in the library.
Oh, that's three. That's three.
So I've seen that version.
Okay.
I've seen whatever that one is. So yeah, I'm caught up, I guess. So
that's a great fight. I like that fight.
It was great. It was fun. Yeah, Boban did a great job considering he just plays basketball for a living, and they got him to play pretty much a villain role. Yeah, I was impressed.
I mean, he had like 3 lines of dialogue and then gets beaten up by John Wick, but it was a great way to kind of open. Yeah. It was the first fight sequence of the movie, and it was pretty cool. And this is an aside, but it's no one knows this. It's such a small little Easter egg, but it's one of my favorite Easter eggs of all time.
Okay.
So Wick goes to the shelf in the library and he pulls out that book of Russian folklore. Right.
Okay.
Which you wouldn't even know if you're not paying very close attention, because you only see like the back spine of it. And then he opens it up, right? And there's that illustration that hides the marker and not the marker, but the cross and a couple of gold coins, right? And he grabs that stuff out and puts the book back in. The illustration that he pulls aside is Vasilisa the Beautiful by Ivan Bilibin. Vasilisa the Beautiful.
All over my head.
Yeah. So Vasilisa the Beautiful is one of the classic folk tales about the Baba Yaga, which is John Wick's nickname in the movie. And so, again, no one gets this. It goes over everybody's head, right?
I didn't even know that he was nicknamed Baba Yaga. I know Baba Yaga. I know of that villain or...
She's not really... Yeah, she's a folk figure, right?
Isn't she like a witch or something?
She's a witch, and she has the chicken-leg house and lanterns of human skulls, and and she's self-serving. So if she gets something out of it, she'll help someone. If she gets something out of it, and she's
sort of like
and she flies around in a mortal and pestle. One of my favorite characters from Russian folklore. And as with all things Russian, their folklore is very dark, very foreboding,
Sure.
But she's a great character, and one of just one of the most important mythical figures in Russia. And Ivan Bilibin, who is a Russian illustrator, he did a series of illustrations inspired by Russian folklore. So one of the most popular one is Vasilisa the Beautiful. And so he did an illustration of Vasilisa the Beautiful holding the lantern that the Baba Yaga gives her on her way back to her evil family's house. And in the background, you can see the Baba Yaga's chicken leg house, right? And it's this classic. Well, I'll find it. Let me find it, and Well, you've got the screen shared, so I don't want to.
Well, you know what? You could.
I guess I haven't set it so multiple people can share the screen. So let's see here.
Why not? I mean, we already had weirdness tonight. Let's just try some other experiments.
Yeah. So let's see here. Okay. So here we go. Okay. So let me see here. Side-by-side mode. No? Okay, let's see here. Share screen. Here's the drawing.
What else we could do? I mean, I think...
Oh, okay. I killed your share for the time being. But we'll go back to yours in a second. So this is the drawing.
So now I don't see your screen, though. I can't see what you're doing. You know what? Let me if I stop share on my side, maybe I can see your.
Yeah, maybe.
Let me stop share on my side. Hang on.
This is the most unprofessional stream
Okay,
we've
there we
ever
go.
done.
This is perfect. Yes, but it works. Yes, so
Okay.
that's Baba Yaga right there. I see.
Yes. So this is Vasilisa the Beautiful. She gets a lantern from the Baba Yaga, and right now it's escaping me what she was supposed to do with it. But it's irrelevant largely for the purpose of this conversation. You can see in the background the Baba Yaga's chicken leg house. You can see the chicken leg right behind Vasilisa's right arm. You can see her lanterns of her victims in front of as the gate in front of her house, right?
Yeah.
This is a very, very famous drawing. Okay.
Okay.
This is the drawing that was on the book that John Wick opens to retrieve the secret artifacts in the library.
And like a little, just kind of.
Yeah, it's just this tiny little Easter egg that no one is going to get unless you would just a lot about Russian folklore, which I know more than I should for some reason. It's partly full disclosure. I discovered the Baba Yaga through Hellboy. She's one of the main villains of Hellboy, and I found the character so fascinating. I independently did research. On her because I found the character so fascinating. I wanted to know where she came from, and that's really why I know so much about it. But I remember watching the movie, and that the book page opens, and I see Vasilisa the Beautiful there, and I in the theater I laughed so hard because I was so delighted to see that, and people were looking at me like, "What is this guy laughing about?" Anyway,
that's really funny. That's
super
hilarious.
Super way off topic. But yeah, that was a great fight sequence in the library. And so you've seen that one.
Yeah, so I'm all up to date then. That means I can watch John
So you've seen John Wick 2 as well then?
What happens in John Wick 2? I don't even know
So
what happens.
that's the one where he goes to Italy, the Vatican City, and kills the sister of the guy, and then the guy takes out a bounty on him, and then every assassin in New York attacks him for a while. And then he kills the bad guy, and then he winds up excommunicado at the end of the one.
Yeah, I remember that one too. To me, like, except for a subtle little, some little subtle story points, they're all the same to me.
Yeah,
just,
no.
They're just like a pretty much a long truck of him fighting people, one long shot, another long shot, and so it kind of blends together. But I don't mind it. I think it's fun.
The fight choreography is phenomenal.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
But anywho, So, oh man, I lost the original thread. I took us so far in the weeds.
Well, while you were trying to find your thread, let me ask you this though, because I didn't know. Watching all three of these John Wick movies, I didn't even know that he was nicknamed Baba Yaga. I didn't catch that at all. I don't know why. I just never.
Yeah,
maybe I wasn't paying attention.
You clearly weren't. That's such a fundamental part of that character.
I must have just checked out my brain. I don't remember that at all.
Maybe you should rewatch these movies because that's like one of the core tenets of that character is he's known as the Baba Yaga. They call him Baba Yaga? Yeah, which is weird. I don't know why they call him the Baba Yaga.
Yeah, why? Yeah, so that was my next question: is why do they call him that? Like, because
I don't know because it's like sort of the. I mean, Baba Yaga actually means old grandmother.
Yeah.
Right.
There's nothing about him that tells me that. It's.
Yeah. So, I think because the Baba Yaga, the actual witch, is kind of a boogeyman, right? She is this specter who torments her victims and appears out of nowhere. So in that respect, it fits. I think they just chose it because it sounded cool and it was Russian, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And in the first film, the world of assassins and all that stuff, it didn't exist. They made all of that up for, the details of it. They imply that there's this secret world of assassins, inside the Continental Hotel, but the high table and all that other stuff beyond sort of the gold coins was never really explored before that. Mm-hmm. And so, when they do the movies and they have to go beyond the Russian mob into the larger world of the assassins, the Baba Yaga nickname continues to make less and less sense because it's no longer, it's like, why do all these Italian assassins know him as the Baba Yaga, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? But anyway.
Yeah.
Um, it sounds like a cool nickname if you don't know who that character is. If you know who that character is, you kind of chuckle at the strange incongruity of it. But you know, it's John Wick. You're not really there for subtlety of screenwriting craft. You're there to watch Keanu
Yeah.
Reeves kick
Kick
butt
some butt.
in a really impressive fight choreography. You know.
Hmm. So I'm assuming you're gonna see this in a theater this weekend at some
Yeah, it
point.
premieres on Friday. I'll probably go to I don't think I have anything on my schedule for Friday night, so I'll probably go Friday night
Hmm.
and just check it out. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure when I would. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing it, but I'm not in a hurry to go see it either. You know, I'm just sort of like right down the middle. I'll watch it on streaming maybe. I don't know yet. Yeah, we'll see. Unless you give me a raving review about it, like everything everywhere all at once, I may
Yeah.
not. Yeah, that's a whole other.
I can't
But
imagine that
it's
I'm going to.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't see that happening. So, but I don't know. You never know. Who knows? I mean, yeah.
They're fun movies. I like them a lot.
Hmm.
But they're not like, I mean, for me they're worth seeing in theaters. This types of spectacle movies are always worth seeing in the
Sure,
in
there's
the
all kinds of.
theater. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, Also, I mean, on top of that, when you're seeing it in a theater, you do get the spectacle of the size of the screen, also the sound and everything else comes with it. You can't really emulate at home. But that does
Right.
lead me into another area that I was going to talk to you about.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're still talking about John Wick, we can keep going with
No,
that too.
I
So,
retired John Wick. I completely lost the
you,
thread of
yeah.
why I got on the topic in the
Oh, you
first
still
place.
haven't found it yet, huh?
Mm-mm,
Okay.
it's
Well, if you
gone.
remember the thread, bring it back at
All
this
right,
time.
all right.
But there's something else I wanted to bring up to you, and that is, have you ever like I was playing a couple of games just recently, and the one thing I think that gets overlooked is how much sound design really can enhance an experience, especially if you're wearing headphones and you're playing a game. And so I was meaning to ask you this yesterday offline, but I thought, you know what, it might be kind of fun to talk about it streaming wise. But what is your favorite sound design game where you felt like you were immersed in the environment? What one comes to mind for you?
It's a really
And I'll tell you mine after.
it's a really really good question, and it's a hard one to narrow down. I mean,
Hmm.
off the top of my head, there's a couple. Burnout Paradise
Really,
immediately comes to mind. It's you've got some of the best car wreck sound effects, and it's all mastered in surround sound. And
oh,
since like
interesting.
50% of that game is crashing
Yeah,
cars, it's
yeah.
just like hearing the metal rend and crunch and the tires
Oh,
squeal
interesting.
in a sort of an immersive space like that is really cool. Another one that just has phenomenal sound design is Titanfall 2. The single player campaign of Titanfall 2 is
Mm.
it's chef's kiss. It's so good. I mean, it is to this day still my favorite single player first person shooter campaign I've ever played. Nothing has even come
Titanfall 2.
Titanfall 2. Nothing has even come close to it.
I thought Titanfall had a lot of glowing reviews. I never played either of them. But
Yeah.
and then Titanfall 2 was like a letdown for a lot of fans. Is that well, that's my perception. Maybe it's wrong. It's been years now
I
when
mean,
this has come out.
I rarely look at video game
Hmm.
reviews just because
Yeah,
they're
sure.
the
Yeah,
worst
I
of
know.
the
That could
worst
be.
writers. I mean,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
not even worth looking into.
sure.
So that may be the case. I don't honestly know. My experience anecdotally, just speaking to people who have played Titanfall 2, is
Hmm.
generally speaking, the single player campaign is hailed as a masterpiece. So
Really, for Titanfall 2, huh?
yeah,
And it's an FPS game?
it's FPS, and I think it's because it moves very very fast, and
Huh.
you're jumping in and out of mechs and doing all this other stuff. I don't with your motion sickness. I don't even know that you'd be able to.
Yeah,
You might be able to like get on
yeah.
YouTube and watch it, but really, what's the point at that point? But that's another one. And then, honestly, you know what was really really great is and Metroid Prime Remastered.
Yeah, I was waiting for that one. I figured that
Yeah,
one might be up there.
because they went back in addition to just completely redoing the graphics. They completely remastered all the audio, and it's not like they redid it in higher quality. It's still the same sound
Hmm.
effects
Hmm.
as the
Yeah.
original game, But they
they've
remastered
actually
everything in true surround sound instead of the
that's
simulated
really
surround
cool.
sound from the GameCube. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Cool. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, well, I mean, according to my tracking, I am sending you. This has been a long.
Oh, the
I'm sending you
saga
Guardians
is
of
coming to a
yeah. It's finally
conclusion.
gonna. It should arrive to you this Wednesday. But
Okay.
as I was like I was at Best Buy the other day and I was perusing because I was picking up something. I can't remember what, like a memory card or something like that. But I saw this on sale,
Mm-hmm.
and it was God of War 2018. I know
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about this before. Like we were kind of not so interested in playing this game. But I
Yeah.
have to tell you, sound design wise, God of War 2018 and Horizon Zero Dawn are the two best sound design games I've ever played.
Yeah.
With headphones, that is. Like if you play them with surround sound with your speakers, fine, you'll get that. But if you put on your headphones, you have really good headphones. It's a completely different experience playing both of those games. And I don't know whether it's because they're considered Sony flagship games, so Sony has they hang their hat on sound, TV, media. But those two games, I think, are the best sound design games I've ever played. I'd love to play Metroid Prime. Eventually, I will play Metroid Prime with headphones on at some point, and I'll get on the Switch, and try that out. But I cannot get over how. So just speaking with Horizon Zero Dawn, there's moments where you're doing stealth and stuff like that, and you're listening to these mechanical dinosaurs walk around. You can feel them behind you,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and all the little technological little bolts that are rolling around. Like you can hear it, and then you're hiding, and you know that something's behind you. And then you can turn around, you turn the camera on there, and there's one right there. Like it's crazy how much of how it's like that's one area where it's almost like magic. Like how do they, like the way that they actually have associated sound with the distance from where your character's at, where your camera's at, it was second to none so far. But I'll definitely keep in mind Burnout Paradise because I have that game. I remember you were raving about the game. I have it, but Burnout Paradise I haven't played enough to have a feel for it yet. But I'll definitely try to give that a shot now with headphones on.
Oh yeah, give it a shot. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, in a previous life, I was an audio producer.
Mhm.
I worked in the audio department on Fear 2 and on what else? Oh, it's been so long anymore. I did some of the production on audio for Murdered Soul Suspect as
Mhm.
well. Although I was primarily on the design team. And the one thing that games do better than television or movies is sound. And the
Yeah.
reason why is the dynamism of it. Because the player has control of the camera, because the player has
Mhm.
control of the character, the sound has to be able to support the
Yep.
player
What they're
going.
saying it.
Yeah, exactly. And so more so than just about any other aspect of the game, the sound has to be living and breathing because you as the game designer don't know when the player is going to go to some place or another, right?
Yep.
And especially if you have a surround sound system or, like you said, a really good set of headphones. Yeah, not even Star Wars sounds as good as something like what you were saying, God of War.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the and that yeah, yeah, 100% agreement because the limits of the medium, because if you're looking at a screen that's flat, there's only so much you can do with it. You don't have, yeah, I think dynamism is the perfect word for it because there's no control. You're just waiting for everything to come at you, and
Right.
sure you can set up some sounds here and there, but
Sure.
nothing matches a video game when you have headset. We have a really good pair of headphones on. Oh my gosh! Back to God of War, it's the
Yeah.
same thing. Like Kratos has a Leviathan axe, so you throw it around and you can hear the distance of it. But on top of that, it performs very much like Thor from Marvel, where he can call it back. And sometimes you leave the axe behind you, and he raises that hand back, and you can feel the Leviathan axe coming around, and it'll actually do an arc and come around, and depending on where his hands at,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can feel it, and it blows me away. And that's 2018. I haven't played Ragnarok with headphones yet. No, Ragnarok same way. It's the same thing. They had the So never mind. Scratch that. But that was what I was blown away. It's like, oh my gosh! I mean, I should play these games with headphones more often. The reason why I don't is because I feel like if I keep wearing headphones and I play games a lot and I keep getting bombarded, I feel like my hearing is kind of like maxed for the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't do it that often, but I do thoroughly enjoy it. So I was thinking, like, as I was at Best Buy, I was like, 2018 God of War was like, it's super cheap. It's like, at this point, but it's so worth it just to at least give it an hour to like listen to the sound of like how much work they put into the sound of it. See, and if you hate it, you hate it.
Well, I mean, I'll have a reason to charge my PlayStation 4 controller when
yeah, that's true.
When Guardians shows up, and I'm wrapping up on Skyward Sword, and we talked about this a little bit. I'm actually debating whether or not I care enough to go the final distance. The final dungeon I forgot is a slide puzzle. Those stupid things where you move the squares around, and you have to connect the rooms together to traverse the dungeon, and so it's like a meta puzzle on top of the puzzles within the one room.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't like this. This isn't fun.
Yeah.
And the only thing to do after completing that dungeon is fight Demise, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, well, so I'm basically at the end of the game. I can choke down this dungeon that I'm not enjoying just so I can take on the final boss and get the cutscene and say that I finished it, or I can just abandon ship and move on with my life and play something else. And I'll be I've been so busy I haven't turned on games in several days, but I am seriously debating whether or not it's worth choking down a dungeon I'm not enjoying just to fight the final boss of the game.
The fact that you remember it, it brings back painful memories is probably a sign that maybe it's time to move on.
Listen to my gut, listen to my instinct.
Yeah, I mean, you've already beat it from what you've told me. I mean, what is the point, I guess? I mean, I don't know, unless you're enjoying the remastered texture maps or whatever that they've done when they upped up the res, if you're enjoying that, then by all means, but I don't know. Doesn't sound very fun to me. But then again, you know how biased I am against Skyward Sword and how much I hate that.
Oh,
game.
I know.
So I have definitely a more negative view towards it bodily injuring. The bodily injury I sustained from it.
Good Lord. I mean, again, I hold you personally responsible for what you did to yourself. So
I am.
I am absolving Skyward Sword of any sort of moral sin in that regard. So.
Oh, man.
But yeah. So, changing the subject completely with no transition.
Mm-hmm.
Voyager, Star Trek Voyager. I'm on the last season. I'm about halfway through season 7 at this point. I'll wrap it up in the not too distant future. Did one of the most clever things I have seen in a show ever. They actually
this is
Voyager.
This is even more recent than what we talked about yesterday.
Yeah. Because I watched this last night as I was going to bed, and I was just going to fall asleep while it was on, but then the episode was so good, I actually ended up staying awake and watching it.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry, Penny is whining because she's not being paid attention to. It is kind of a clip show. So, but it's not a clip show. It's really great. Okay, so the setup is really flimsy, and who cares? Because that's not the point. But a weird chronoton burst hits Voyager and causes it to exist in a state of quantum flux or whatever bullshit science jargon they come up with.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all for the purpose that Voyager has been split into 37 different time periods. And the only person who's immune to it for very stupid plot reasons is Chakotay. And so he can walk between these different areas of the ship, and no one else can. And the reason they do all of this preposterous setup is so that they can basically take you back to previous episodes of the series and re-examine old episodes from different perspectives. So they bring back characters from like season 1, the the oh god, the Kazon and
Hmm.
Seska, who was uh, Chakotay's love interest in season one, who turned out to be a genetically modified Cardassian. They go to when Seven of Nine first gets on the Voyager. They go to the future where Icheb and Naomi Wildman are grown up, and they're still on their journey home to the Alpha Quadrant. It's so good. It's so silly. But it's effectively a clip show without being a clip show, and it was awesome. It was I just thought it was so fun. It's one of those episodes where the writers are just having fun with the premise, right?
So okay, so your definition of a clip show is where they like how I see it is like when they do those the memory things with the like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
do the fade white. Do you
yeah,
remember when we did this? And then
yeah.
they just fade and then just show old footage.
And they all just
But
show
what you
old
saying?
clips. Yeah,
Yeah. So, but you're saying that they actually did they reshoot some stuff around those old clips to make it
it's
feel seamless?
it's
Like
all new scenes. So there's like
what?
it's but the timeline is from the first
Yeah.
episode or
Yeah.
the 20th
Okay.
episode of season 2 or
So they're making a
whatever.
new they're making a new episode,
It's a
but they just
whole new
using that
episode,
as
but they're revisiting
wow.
old episodes,
That
and
is pretty cool.
they get their old hairstyles back. They change costumes. It's so great. I mean, it's so
Wow.
silly. It's so fun. Like in the Seska thing in particular. So, you know, I don't know how much of this will make. You've seen DS9s, so you know
Yeah.
who the Maquis are, right? And so Voyager starts, and Chakotay and Belana Torres and a character named Seska, who's one of the major villains of the first season. She might even be around in the first two seasons. It's been a while now. But and then like Tuvok is undercover as a Maquis, working secretly for Janeway. Anyway, so all this stuff happens in the Badland, and the Watcher or the caretaker draws them into the Delta Quadrant, and then they don't go back because Janeway decides to save the Kampa instead of letting them die. Anyway, so the Maquis and the Federation crew have to merge, and this all happens in the pilot, by the way. They have to merge into one force to get home, and after several episodes, it's revealed that Chakotay's erstwhile girlfriend, Seska, it turns out she is a genetically modified Cardassian who's been working on for the Cardassians to undermine and destroy the Maquis, right? And she just so happens to get sucked into the Delta Quadrant with the rest of these fools. And so for several episodes of her character arc, she slowly, every time she comes back, she's more and more Cardassian again. Her features are slowly, that she's going
Yeah.
through the genetic process to be returned to
Uh-huh.
her original form. And the point at which this clip show episode happens, she's only halfway through her transition, and it's just like it was so awesome that they were so conscious even of like how much makeup to put on the actress who hadn't been in the show at this point, hasn't been in the show for like 5 years, right?
Wow.
I mean, it's so clever, and the Kazon rarely show. I mean, they never show up anymore. They're like season 1, season 2 villains that never came back.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But they found a way.
but they found a way.
They wrote him in.
Yeah. So yeah, it was great. I really dug it. I thought it was just so silly, But the problem was solved trivially easily. Most of the plot happened because they needed it to happen. There was no justification, no motivation. But it's okay. It's okay because it wasn't supposed to be like, it wasn't a Brian Fuller episode. It wasn't serious. It wasn't like discussing major issues. It just wanted to have fun with a premise for a little bit, and I thought it was great. It was just a delightful episode.
So this is it's getting to a point now where uh this one is getting higher, is pushing itself higher up on the in the list for your
Yeah,
Star
I
Trek.
mean, I'll be frank with you. For me now, at this point, it's Next Generation Voyager, the original series, Deep Space
Oh my
Nine,
gosh.
and
What
then
a jerk.
Enterprise. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. I can't I just all of a sudden I got a headache a little bit. I just feel so Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Can't
yeah.
believe Kirk gets so much disrespect on your list.
I mean, I love me some Kirk,
God.
man, but if I want to be under the command of someone, I want to be on Janeway's ship, because and we've talked about this at length. She has. There's actually another in that same episode. In that same episode, it's they make the joke where she's like, so Chakotay ultimately makes it so that Janeway from season one, episode one, can walk through the time jumps with him, right?
Hmm.
And she sees stuff that she's not supposed to see, stuff that happens 7 years in the future, and she's like, what, like she's just flabbergasted, like, I can't believe all of this has happened. I don't understand. You're telling me that there's giant macro viruses hunt us at some point? I mean, like, they make a gag over how unbelievably fraught the Voyager's journey has been through the Delta
Oh my
Quadrant.
gosh.
It's just a great little beat. It's a great little moment. It's just so good. It was such a delightfully fun episode in a show that, generally speaking, doesn't venture into the realm of silliness as much as Deep Space Nine or Enterprise did, and especially the original series. Um, and so for them to do it so successfully was remarkable, right?
Hmm.
I mean, like, even Voyager's holodeck episodes, they are always serious. They're never silly. Like, Tom Paris invents this small Irish community that they visit on vacation, but then the holograms realize that they're holograms, and so it stops being silly,
Oh jeez.
and it
Oh
becomes
no.
this actual important discussion about the nature of natural rights. And you're like, oh my
Oh boy.
god.
And is that another Fuller
No,
episode?
that wasn't a Fuller episode, but it was, it was a good one though. But yeah, no, Voyager's definitely number 2 for me now after going through it. It was a slow burn. I mean, it took, like, honestly, it didn't get really, really good until 7 of 9 showed up. For whatever reason, that character really gelled a lot of the positions and the interplay between characters and motivations. She's a great character too. A great, like, sort of, there's the maternal bond that Janeway has with her is really, really thoughtfully explored. The guilt that she feels about the things that she did as a Borg is really, really interesting character studies in that regard. Just super fun. I mean, a great character, and once she shows up towards the end of season 3, the beginning of season 4, that's when the show just, like, boop, it figures itself out, right? Before that, it kind of drifts in and out, and there's some great moments like the Tuvok episode in season 2 and a few other things, but or the one where, like, this, I think the season 2 finale, the Kazon actually steal the Voyager, and it's like, how, okay, now what? And so so they did there's some really fun stuff there. And then, of course, the season 3 episode where the Doctor gets his mobile holo emitter, it's super complicated, but basically Ed Begley Jr. is playing a Steve Jobs slash Bill Gates-esque software entrepreneur, but he's evil, and for reasons that are not worth explaining in this podcast, comes into possession of several 31st century temporal technology. And he steals the Doctor's holomatrix from the Voyager, downloads it into early 21st century computer technology, and then uses 31st century technology to create a holo emitter that the Doctor then uses for the rest of the series. It's so great. It's actually a good 2-parter with Sarah Silverman playing an astronomer nerd.
Wow.
Who has a crush on Tom Paris. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Sarah Silverman was. Wow.
It has.
That's early.
Yeah. Oh, very early. The show has so many weird cameos. Jason Alexander of Seinfeld fame guest stars as an alien in one episode.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, there's some really fun stuff. There's some really it really is just, it's phenomenal. It's a great show. So yeah, definitely number 2.
Poor Kirk. That's all I can say.
Anyway,
don't worry. On my list, Kirk, you're still number 1 for me.
All right, all right.
Kirk. You're still the guy I'd run up to a brick wall for.
I can practically hear Bill Shatner releasing a sigh of relief
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
But
But
okay, well, I
cool.
mean, we're pretty
We're
good to. We're getting up
yeah,
on
we're in a good
45
spot.
minutes. Let's take a look at where you're at, and then we'll close out shop.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got the semi front view of Calamity underway. I'll probably
Mm-hmm.
just finish off the rest of our mouth pack maybe next stream. But yeah, so I'm pretty happy with this considering the chicken scratch drawing I did before of
Yeah,
her.
yeah. It's a much more
So
refined now. There's no question
yeah, so
about it.
I had to tighten it up, but yeah, I'm happy with that. So we'll move on. So we have that pose ready to use in a couple of shots, so we're good.
Cool. Very cool. Well, we'll wrap it up there. As always, please head over to calamityjane.rocks. That'll take you directly to our Patreon site, and there you can join us as we try to make this cartoon a reality. You can also check us out on Facebook. That's where we do all of our general updates, like whether there's going to be a stream or not, and any new changes coming your way. And then, of course, we have Twitter at Jane Salamander, where we do a 3-tweet story, usually every week. Sometimes we miss a week, depends on what's going on, but usually every week. And that's a fun way to kind of get an inside look at some of the other silly stuff that's going to happen in the cartoon. James, you know this, but we'll let everybody know there won't be any stream next Monday. I have a prior engagement which I must attend to, but we'll be back in 2 weeks, and we'll see. We might do a stream some other time during next week, but whatever happens, we'll post that to Facebook to let you know.
Mhm.
Anyway, that about wraps it up for me. We'll wrap it up here. Good night, everybody. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you soon. Good night.
Night.